I'm Jacquire King. I'm talking to you from my studio in Franklin, Tennessee. I'm a producer, engineer, and mixer.
Hey guys, glad you dropped by. My name's Dave Pensado. I'm not really sure what the hell I do, but I like doing it, and have a little show and mix a few records. A few of them do well. Made a lot of friends, and I wish I was in Tennessee with Jacquire right now.
I'll go ahead. My name's Spencer Thompson. My primary gig is I'm in a band called Moon Taxi that I play guitar in and do the majority of production and occasional mixing. And then also I work with Jacquire a lot here in Nashville and do other outside production mixing work as well.
Hey guys, I'm James Nichols. I'm a blues rock guitar player. I'm based in Nashville, Tennessee as well. And I'm very, very new to the home recording game. I've spent the majority of my career touring. So this is all very fresh for me. And I'm super excited to be here. This is going to be awesome.
Hey everyone, my name is Elisa Ayerbe. I am a recording and mixing engineer from Colombia. I'm currently based here in Miami, and I have a home audio setup. Here is where I mix, here is where I do everything, and I'm excited to come here and share everything with you guys.
Would you, well, I was going to ask, would you guys agree that your speakers, I mean, obviously we work remotely and, you have to get used to headphones but wouldn't you say that our speakers are probably our best friend in the studio? Because no matter what we're doing, or what gear we're using, or what what DAW we're using, like having a pair of speakers that you understand and your friends are kind of like, that's because I just think of it because that's basically Jared. That's like one of Jared's primary tools is a pair of speakers, and that's our lens to hear for everything, and that's also something you can take speakers room to room if you want. Wouldn't you agree that that's the place to start? That's the primary thing.
Absolutely.
Totally.
That's literally like underwear.
It was so important for me to have these speakers that I made the drummer and the bass player in my band both get KRKs. So when we listen to mixes, I could say, listen exactly on these speakers. We have the same exact setup. That's how important it was for me.
Absolutely.
Jacquire, what would you think about this? Borrow a pair of expensive speakers and then see how good they sound in your room. And if they sound less than what you think is good, do some rudimentary treatment, like take your bed mattress and put it against a wall and see if you can construct some kind of crazy, stupid way, a little bit of treatment. And then those speakers are worth buying. That's kind of what I've done my whole career. I'll buy an expensive pair of speakers, listen to them in my room, and I'm like, man, I should take these things back. They sound horrible. And then I put up some treatment over time, and I always blame myself for everything. So it goes along with my philosophy. But
yeah, I mean, the room treatment and just understanding how your space functions, and you're like, Maria finally nailing down this flutter echo and just kind of understanding all those things. That's so important, because honestly, speakers there's so many different ones, and even KRK has a lot of different styles, of speaker, and a speaker really should be a personal choice. You should listen to different music on it and your own work, and then sort of just find something that you vibe with, and then learn it, because there's no wrong or right. There's no perfect speaker. I actually have some really expensive speakers in my studio and some really cheap speakers. And I use them both. They both give me different information. It's an important thing. So, but to hear what they're doing accurately, yes, you do need to spend the time to sort of, you don't have to be in a proper space, but just kind of like refine the space and pay attention to the things of cleaning it up, bass trapping, some, reflective, management, so forth.
Can we kind of take a second, do a little poll about what percentage of the time do you use headphones as opposed to speakers? For me, it's getting close to 50-50 now. When I started quarantine, it was like 0, 100 speakers.
Yeah.
And I've resisted that, and now it's part of my arsenal. Like my earbuds are part of my arsenal. My old ass cell phone is part of my arsenal. I use it with a plugin called Audio, and so I don't have to do anything. I just hit a plug-in, and I can listen to my mix on my phone. And then I use a pair of ref tones, which are like R tones. I use the MTMs from IK Multimedia, and then I use my super incredible Amphions. And then I also have my KRKs, the E8Ts. You remember those, right?
Yep.
And then some subs, you know. So Jacquire, how much of the time do you use headphones right now?
Well, it's interesting. Over the years, it's become more and more. There was a time, it's almost 20 years ago, where I did a bunch of rough mixes in a hotel room on headphones, and you know, to sort of present to the band as we were wrapping up recording and give them to the label. So that, and I think I almost lost the gig. Actually, you know, I mean, I had the gig producing. I did that. I got through that part, but then I almost lost the gig mixing because mixing on headphones is like a learned skill. It's not the same as mixing on speakers. And then, you know, those mixes just were not very good. So for a long time I stayed away from it, but, you know, over time and investing more of my own time in finding the headphones that make sense to me, that I can use. I'm now to the point where, I mean, I would say probably I'm on speakers 75% of the time, 80% of the time, but I do use headphones. I was traveling a couple months ago, and I did a bunch of mix work. I think I worked on about half a dozen songs, and I got them to about 85% on headphones. And then I came into the studio and kind of finished things off. But that's sort of the way it works for me. Headphones can be very valuable, but it's also a learned skill as well. It's, you know, you just, because they are very different than speakers. The low end does not develop the same. I mean, now that with the in-ear monitoring and some of the things, the technology that's developed, there is better bass response that can be more reliable. But that's sort of where I'm at on it.
Yeah. In my case, it's a funny story because when I graduated from college 11 years ago, I had a gig as a post-production and sound designer for television and film. And we had to work on headphones. So basically, I did that for 3 years where I was enclosed in headphones working 7 days a week, 8 hours a day, only headphones. So I learned my way through headphones. And I was married to the Sony 7506 for a very long time. And now I found different brands, including the KRK's 8400s, which I love because they have this certain thing, which is something that I want to go back to, also talking about speakers. And it's like, it's really important that you get to know your speakers and you play back a lot of music, but also measure yourself in terms of results. If you're working on speakers, how much time does it get you to find a really good balance between your elements in the mix? That if you spend less time working on those speakers, maybe those speakers are your best match. Forget about price or anything else. It's just those speakers are meant for you. The same thing with the 8400s. I put them on, and if I have like an EQ thing that I need to solve, those headphones work amazingly well. But I also know my headphones, and I have open back headphones as well for other genres or other things that I go to. So it's always been like almost 50-50 for me all the time.
Yeah, very cool.
I probably use headphones way more than the average person. I'm probably on headphones at least 70% of the time, even when I'm here and I'm working on something. If I'm sitting at my desk working on something, I have my monitors, and I also have a setup where it goes to a Sonos speaker, just an old school Play One Sonos, and then a pair of home audio speakers that I've had since I was in high school. But I really like, I'll spend like 50% of the time on monitors, and then headphones, even if I'm at my desk with speakers. I've gotten used to headphones from working on them and I kind of like the way things sound in headphones, and I like to get things sounding cool in headphones. it's like really important to me. I could never like send out anything that confidently unless I'd heard it on headphones. If I'd just been listening to speakers for 4 hours and felt like I had to send something to someone and hadn't listened on headphones, I wouldn't feel super confident about it. Sometimes something like instantly sticks out on headphones that doesn't to me on speakers, but that's probably because I've done much mixing and work away from speakers that I've almost gotten used to headphones first and speakers second, in a way.
Yeah. Jared.
I use the speakers all the time now. Since I've been home, it's all speakers, man. And since I've started now, all speakers. But it is funny going back to your points about listening to things, hearing things differently on every format, right? So I've noticed the things I track, you know, if I'm using the home studio setup and then I put it on my iPhone, it's going to sound completely different. So now I'm learning to be more mindful of how I track. Even at certain volumes with the speaker, it reacts differently to the way I play. So it all kind of works together, and I'm kind of finding my way now. But since I've been home and since I can, I just use speakers all the time. I'm basic.
I think one of the things that gives speakers the edge is, I'm going to use some hand puppets. When you have a speaker, there's a cone of sound from the right speaker coming here. Now, a little bit of that bleeds over into this ear, right? Same thing this way. When you put on a pair of headphones, there's no bleed. This goes just in this ear. This goes just in this ear. There are some softwares that can alleviate that problem, or you might just take the stereo bus and pan it in to 97% and get a little leakage on both sides. But mixing is a speaker process for me, and I've always had great luck with KRKs. I mean, there's several pairs that are going to go in the Hall of Fame probably sometime soon. But I like at the end of the night seeing if I can catch my woofers on fire, and I've done it before too, twice on some Ausbergers at Ayerbe Studios where I used to work, and there's just something about the frequencies that you feel when you turn something up loud and what it makes you feel in your body. You know, it's, that will ever be the domain of speakers.
Absolutely.
I'm curious because we've kind of touched on it a little bit all throughout our conversation. But how are you guys all sharing files? I mean, because obviously, as we look to work, you know, we are working remotely in our home studios, sharing work. You know, what formats or what advice could we give about how we're sharing files? I mean, Spencer and I send stuff back and forth all the time. You know, what do you guys do? Jared, Jared, what do you do with your bandmates? Like, and you guys are writing, how are you sending the session? Are you just sending audio, or what are you working in different DAWs? What's going on?
So originally we were sending voice memos back and forth for demos before I had anything, right? Literally I'd play a part, other guy would play a part, we'd send it back and forth, and basically he'd mock it up. Then I'd just send him a guitar track. The way that I ran it in the beginning was as simple as GarageBand. And then my buddy goes, no, you got to get Logic. So I got Logic. But what I've been doing basically is just sending single files. Nothing crazy. And I've been doing that, and it's been working for me.
You guys use Dropbox to collaborate?
Yeah, just Dropbox.
Dropbox.
Yeah. That it's as simple as that. I haven't done anything yet that required me to do anything further. So I learned how to use Dropbox, and that was about it.
I think knowing how to share files and sessions and stuff is so paramount today. And if you work on something, knowing how to properly get across what you want to wherever you're sending it it's something a lot of people I feel like struggle with. You know, they can work on something and then it's time to pass to someone else, but they, you know, how do I export this to, you know, and people are working in 5 different DAWs. So like that's crucial knowledge. I feel like that people really need to understand. It probably starts at just knowing how to properly export waves out of your DAW, you know, consolidated, that you can Dropbox everyone, even simply having that not be a mess, you know, can be a thing that you definitely need to know. And then being somewhat familiar with, you know, as many of the common DAWs as possible helps too. I mean, me and Jacquire just yesterday were working on something that we got a session in Pro Tools that I had to export, because I work in Logic primarily, to work in Logic and then set up in Luna. And, you know, it's kind of like we need to, you know, I'm no expert in Pro Tools or Luna, but I need to be able to at least communicate with them, get stuff in and out in an effective way where I don't lose something. And then we use, I mean, for as far as sharing stuff, mostly Dropbox is my preferred method. I think that skill is so necessary these days, and knowing how to do all that properly.
Absolutely. And also, I don't know, Dave and Jacquire, I assume you guys do something like that, but when people reach out to me for mixing services, the first thing I do is that I usually share I have like a mix deliverables cheat sheet, where I can just tell my customers how I would like them to print their stems, if they need to print stems or print their files. Because I work in Pro Tools, but not if I have a customer that is working in Logic or Ableton Live or Fruity Loops or Cubase. I mean, so many DAWs. For example, the thing with delays or printed effects or filters, risers, automations, all of that, it gets really complicated, because if you remove that from a production, the song goes away. But at the same time, if you like, as a producer or an artist, when they put all of that charge into the mixing engineer, it's going to be really difficult for us mixing engineers to recreate those effects and those movements and the filters and everything that they did on production, because it's never going to be the same. Probably we don't have the same plugins. So that is a thing that I usually do. And it's a matter for me, also dealing with how, just going back to advising my customers and how to record better at home, which is another subject, especially nowadays. I try to spend a lot of the time in education, as far as advising them like best tips and things to do, than just going back and forth, trying to just like leave all of the responsibility to the artist without explaining what's going on. Education is a great thing for me nowadays.
Well said, Maria. Well said. For me, I hate working alone. Always have. I don't know quite why. And I do miss being able to turn around and ask somebody, "What do you think about that snare? It's good, huh?" You know. and then having the artists in the room, Jacquire can tell you, it's the hardest damn thing to do to get them to show up. And probably 40 or 50% of my number ones, nobody ever showed up. And I hate that, because we make music hopefully for millions of people. And it'd be nice if you could try it on 3 or 4 people. I love it when artists bring their spouses and stuff, and they're the ones I turn around and ask opinions for, you know. But that's not the world we live in right now. And particularly at my age, I have to be real careful. I've got 2 of the best assistants I've ever had, Jackson Rao and Aiden Duncan. They're helping me, and they get tested regularly, and I trust them with my life. It's sad that mixing has to be a life or death decision, but that's our world right now. And so I rely a lot on them, and they give me excellent information. They keep me from doing stupid things. I have a habit of liking my stereo bus so loud it distorts, and I like distortion because I spent half my life standing in front of eight Marshall stacks. So, and nothing better in life than standing there and hitting an A chord, first position A chord, and that 110, 220, and 40 just rattles your body and makes life worth living. But I do miss the camaraderie, and so I try to get photographs of my artist or talk to them at length. You know, maybe a 2-hour conversation about their likes and dislikes in terms of music, and then I get angry when they just say, "Well, can you make it more like a demo?" No. If your demo's so fucking good, put it out.